Breaking news. When certain requirements are met, NATO says Ukraine can join. Zelenskyy criticizes the inane absence of a timeframe. On Tuesday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy lashed out at NATO, calling the organization's failure to provide a timeline outlining specific details for his country's future NATO membership unprecedented and absurd. He cited the lag as motivation for Russia to continue its terror. Within a short time frame, NATO leaders agreed on another official declaration at the two-day summit in Vilnius, Lithuania, stating that Ukraine's future was inside the military alliance. However, it once again omitted a timeline and insisted that certain preconditions must first be fulfilled. Meanwhile, Russian forces have launched another attack on Kyiv this month, and Ukrainian military officials say Russian forces have launched 334 airstrikes across the country in the past week alone. The Prime Minister of Latvia, Krišjānis Kariņš, met with CNBC's Steve Sedgwick in Vilnius, Lithuania, to discuss the upcoming NATO summit. The leaders of NATO met on Tuesday and decided to invite Ukraine to join the military alliance. The NATO allies' compromises on Ukraine were outlined by Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg. "We will issue an invitation for Ukraine to join NATO when allies agree and conditions are met," he was quoted as saying by NBC News. Later, a more detailed written statement will be made public. Boris Pistorius, the German Minister of Defense, said on Tuesday that he believes NATO membership is in Ukraine's best interest, but that rapid accession negotiations are impossible until the conflict is resolved. At the NATO summit in Vilnius, Lithuania, Pistorius declared, "The future of Ukraine is in NATO, there is no doubt about it. The time to discuss everything else is after the war is over. While hostilities persist, it is unreasonable to expect Ukraine's membership in NATO to be a negotiating point. You need to wait for this opportunity, and once it presents itself, we must act immediately." In response to CNBC's Steve Sedgwick's question about whether Germany supports Ukraine joining NATO, Pistorius said, "We always emphasize that. Yes, that is how I see things." The Central Bank of Russia reported that the country's current account surplus, the amount by which exports exceed imports, plummeted 85% to $20.2 billion in the first half of this year compared to the same period last year. Western sanctions and falling prices for Urals crude accounted for the vast majority of the decline in oil and gas revenues. With imports down because of sanctions and oil and gas sales up because of high energy commodity prices, Russia's current account surplus reached a record high in 2022. Overnight, Russia used drones to attack 3 Ukrainian cities: the capital Kyiv, the Black Sea port city of Odessa, and the southeastern city of Kherson. Warning sirens could be heard all over the country. The attacks came the day before a crucial NATO summit was to begin in Vilnius, Lithuania, where a new defense strategy was to be established and Sweden was to be welcomed into the alliance. Local authorities in southeast Ukraine reported 1 death and 2 injuries, while in Kyiv and Odessa, no fatalities were reported. Head of Kyiv's military administration Serhiy Popko wrote on Telegram, "The enemy attacked Kyiv from the air for the second time this month," which Google translates as, "The enemy attacked Kyiv from the ground." According to the Ukrainian Air Force, a total of 28 Iranian-made Shahed drones were launched, but only 26 were successfully destroyed. NBC was unable to confirm the claims on its own. Many NATO countries fall short of the required spending of 2% of GDP on defense. CNBC talks with the leaders of Spain, Lithuania, the Netherlands, and Poland about their respective countries' budgets.